everybody to the Indie Pod podcast. I got the intro right this time, I think. I'm Super Joe Pardo, and I have the pleasure of having a great Hall of Famer guest on this week. Before I get there, I want to tell you about a couple of things. Indie PodCon is coming up 24th to the 26th of September 2020. I know it's so close. It might as well be next weekend. If you want to save 10%, go to indiepodcon.com/register. And Indie Icon 6, Indie PodCon, is coming back to Swedesboro, New Jersey, if you haven't heard. And the other thing is next weekend we're doing a Philly podcaster meetup, November 17th, noon to 3. It's like right in Center City. Really cool looking place. Go to indiepodcon.com/meetup. We have, I think it's like 25 or 26 people registered so far. So feeling pretty good about that. Hope we can get some more people. If you know somebody that would like to be there. Matthew Passy will be speaking. So looking forward to that as well. Anyway, this week I have the pleasure of getting to do 2 episodes this week too. This is the second time that we've gotten to do 2 episodes in 1 week. And my guest today is the Hall of Famer, Dave Jackson. Give it up for Dave. Woo!
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, you are welcome. So if you don't know Dave, well, Dave, explain yourself.
Holy cow. Been podcasting since 2005. Started the School of Podcasting in 2005. The last time I checked, 2.4 million downloads on that one. I worked for Libsyn the last 3 years. Got that job because of my podcast. And yeah, in 2018, they inducted me into the Podcasters Hall of Fame. So a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. It's already been 3 years that you've been with Libsyn. That's great.
that was a fun day. I got fired. Well, I'm sorry. What's the proper verbiage? I was downsized. Yeah. And, so I called, I was like, I would really like to get a job in podcasting because I'd been teaching in the corporate world, and about every 7 years, it's like radio. They pull you in the office, let you know you're one of the best trainers, but they're going to let you go and I always go, why are we not firing the sales guys that can't sell training? But on the way out of the parking lot, I was like, well, if I want to work anywhere, it would be Libsyn. So I called Rob and said, this could be a really awkward conversation. He's like, what's going on? I go, I got bad news and good news. He's like, all right, what's the bad news? And I go, the bad news is I just lost my job. And he goes, okay, I'll play. What's the good news? And I go, I'm available to work for you, buddy. And he said, well, I would say I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not. And he goes, what are you doing the rest of the day? And I go, probably laundry. I, literally just lost my job. And he's like, let me see if I get the president to call you back. And shortly thereafter, I was hired on February 29th. I was actually hired on a leap year. So that was fun.
That's cool. So you'll be working for 1 year and 1 more year.
Yeah, that's it.
Is next year, is 2020 a leap year?
It should be, right? Isn't it every 4 years?
Yeah, it's every 4 years. Yeah. So I guess
it'll be my 1 year anniversary.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You can finally go in and ask for that big raise you've been itching to get. Yeah, it is. It'll be a Saturday.
Yeah.
It'll be a Saturday, February 29th.
Nice.
Hi, Anita. How you doing? Well, thank you for jumping in here with us. Let's see. So what I wanted to talk about today with you, Dave, because I mean you've done 4 talks at MapCon, now Indie PodCon, and I one of my favorite talks was your first one where everything was on fire, including librarians, and I think so. Let's talk about the why, why and who is your podcast for, and because I know like we've talked about this one-on-one as well, but I think it's really important for people to sometimes take a step back, even if you're not just getting started, to take a step back and like take stock on it. And I know I've done it a couple of times recently, just switched my show back to Dreamers Podcast, which I have yet to release an episode for because I've been so busy working on this conference and this podcast and the meetup coming next week. So Dave, talk about the why. Like what is the why, and what should the why mean to you as a podcaster?
Yeah, the why I get worried about is like somebody will say, hey, want to start a podcast. And I'll go, okay, great. Why? And if I hear something like, I don't know, I thought it might be cool. I'm like, that's not a good why. Because if you can't explain your why, you're never going to make it through the how. And so the why is important. And sometimes the why is I just want to get the word out. I can't get my message out on TV. I can't get it out on radio. Can't get it out on newspapers. This needs to be heard, and I want to get it heard. I'm like, okay, cool. That's a good why. Or I want to be seen as an expert. Or I want to. Nobody else loves, I don't know, chocolate covered fish sticks. I want to see if anybody else does, and I'm going to start the chocolate covered fish stick podcast. All right, that's good. But the whole like, I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I just want to, and even if it's like I just want to hang out with my bros. Okay, but if like you can't, like that's you're stating your why. Because I have there's somebody asked once, and he said, well, my brothers and I, because I have two brothers, and we used to love to just sit around and talk about Formula One racing. And he goes, but we've all grown up, we all have kids, and he goes, I miss hanging around with my brothers talking about Formula One racing. He goes, if I have a podcast, now we have a reason to look at our wives and go, hey, I can't right now. We podcast on Friday nights. We get together. We talk about Formula One racing. So it was kind of like I thought that was one of the most interesting whys. So, but that's the first one. And then the other thing is, you have to figure out who your podcast is for, because if you know your why and you know your who, so let's say, okay, my audience is, a group of people. Great. And they want to talk about French toast recipes, and they want to talk about, cats and their kids, but they also are interested in maybe selling their house. Okay, great. Well, if your goal is to do a local real estate show, that's perfect. But you don't want to talk about French toast recipes. You don't want to talk about cats, but you want to talk buying and selling your house. And what I've seen people do is they'll see, like right now, I expect if we wait another, yep, there it is. There's a new true crime podcast just created right now, and probably another 5 by the time we're done talking today. Everybody's making a true crime thing because that's the thing. So I could start a true crime podcast and maybe do a little research on the internet. But then later, if somebody goes, well, how's your podcast going? And I'm like, oh, well, we're getting a lot of leads on this true crime stuff, and we might actually solve a murder. And you're like, great. But like, is that good? And they go, well, it's not really driving a lot of business to my real estate business. And you're like, well, you're not talking about things that, if I'm doing a real estate show, if I want to be known in my little local area as a real estate person, I'm going to do a show about how to get ready to either buy and sell your house, how to get appraisals, how to, what's the best, what's better, vinyl siding or something, all those things that, especially, I remember when I bought my first house, I was like clueless. And so it'd be a good way. But because I want to be known in my little area, maybe do a local calendar. Hey, down at the theater, they're doing the play Guys and Dolls, and over at the Cineplex, Joker's still there if you haven't seen it yet. Throw in a bunch of hyper local stuff. And I realize when you do that people from Europe don't want to listen because they don't care about Guys and Dolls down at the theater, but you're going to end up with a smaller audience, but it's more hyper focused. And you're going to be answering those questions that the people that want to buy and sell their house, want to hear. And that way, when somebody goes, oh, what's going on? They're like, oh man, I just found out my wife's pregnant and we're going to have to move because we don't have enough bedrooms. Oh man, you need to listen to the, Lisa and Jim show. They do this cool local, how to buy and sell your house podcast kind of thing. So if you know your why, I want to increase my real estate business, and who, then you can figure out, okay, what content can I talk about that's going to position me as the expert, that I'm the person you should hire to help buy and sell your house, but yet is still going to entertain and keep people engaged for my who. So when you know your who and your why, it's just a matter of connecting the two with your content.
Yeah, well, a true crime thing, it doesn't necessarily, even if it is a local thing, like, do you want to talk about all the crime that happened in your area that you're trying to sell the houses in? Yeah. I don't think so.
Let's go over the police blotter. There were 10 murders last week.
Yeah, exactly. And we got this house on sale for $110,000. It's a steal. You're going to want it.
Yeah, it was 190 last week, but it's down to 110. Meanwhile, that serial killer's still on the loose. Yeah.
It's been freshly cleaned, okay? Freshly cleaned. All the blood totally mopped up. No problems there. Yeah. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat if you're watching on the one of the Facebook Live streams or Periscope. Drop it in the chat. We should be able to see it. We'll get to it. I see there's 1 or 2 questions here already. Let's see. Anita, how many minutes is the ideal podcast with your guest speaker? Not boring to listen to. Dave, you want to start with that one?
Yeah. First of all, you got to know why I'm bringing somebody on. Like, if I'll give an example, I did Kathy Heller she could have talked about raising 3 kids and running her own business. She could have talked about marketing. She could have talked about like 5 different topics. And when I brought her on, I said, Kathy, I'm bringing you on because she's a musician and she's making money as a musician. Not an easy feat these days. And what she did is she saw that the only people that are really making money in music right now were people that are licensing music to Netflix shows and commercials and things like that. And so what she did is she listened to the music that was being licensed and made music like that. And I go, ooh, that's exactly what I tell my audience. Figure out who your audience is and then give them what they want. I said, so that's what we're going to talk about. So first of all, why am I bringing this person on? And if I don't know the person and people go, that's a little rude, I'm like, nope, it's I am the goalie and my audience is behind me. And if you try to put crap on in my audience, I'm going to swat it away. And I have a guy right now that wants to be on another podcast I do. And I said, look, you sound like you have a nice resume. They sent me 16 attachments. I'm like, I'm not reading any of those. Just tell me how that guy's going to bring value to my audience. And I said, but as I don't know you, I am willing to interview you, but I reserve the right to not publish our interview. Because if this guy's just going to pitch, and he's talking about stuff that my audience doesn't care about, it's not going that way. So that's that. And then what I do is when I interview somebody, I first ask the question. So let's say I asked Joe, hey, Joe, like, what's your favorite color? And Joe goes, actually, it's 315. And I go, well, okay, so Joe gave me an answer, but he didn't answer my question. And especially if you're interviewing people who get interviewed a lot, man, you just pull their string and they're off, well, back in the day, and they guess got this thing. So I listen to each question and I listen to the answer and I go, does that bring value to my audience? That stays. Great. Now the next one. Okay. That one does not. I asked them a question. Hey, have you ever had a time when you really felt like you were just a complete failure? And then they go, no. Okay. Well, that's no value. Get that out of here. So I have found, it's really not how long should it be. It's how long can you hold their attention? I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. So there's no such thing as too long, just too boring.
That's right.
With one caveat. Your listening audience has like a clock in their mind, right? Mm-hmm. And it in my case, when I shortened up my show from like 30 minutes or whatever it takes to make, to get the show done down to 21 minutes, I got feedback from quite a few people saying, well, my commute is like 32 minutes or something like that. And I don't want to start another episode. Like, you have plenty of episodes, like, hundreds of episodes, but like, I don't want to start another episode and like have to stop in the middle of it, which is coincidentally one of the reasons why I don't listen to podcasts in my car on my way to the shop in the morning, because it's only a 15-minute drive. So like, I'm listening to sports talk radio, and when I'm listening to that, I care about, my 4 sports teams here in Philly, but I'm listening to like how they do their transitions, how they work with somebody that's on a cell phone calling in and has got like bum advice or a bum opinion about something. And how they navigate all of that. Like, that's what I'm listening to listen to how I can improve myself with my own hosting and my own, entertainment value. But because it's so short, I don't want to be in the mid conversation. Like, okay, now I'm at the shop. So now it's off. And then I got to like rewind it a bit to get back into it. And I've been thinking about challenging myself to like try to do that. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to from here to here, and then I'm just going to rewind a little bit and start it back up and see if I can get into it. But I don't know, I'm a very completionist kind of person. So for me, it's very difficult to break out of that shell.
Yeah. It doesn't do any good to do the 20-minute busy mom show, because no busy mom has 20 minutes. It's like 5 minutes tops. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got to be really entertaining and probably like recorded very loud, because if they're listening over kids, exactly. You don't want to be talking like this is the mom show and we talk about busy moms and how we can entertain. Like, that's cool, but like, no parent is going to be able to actually listen to that while their kids are around.
Yeah.
Though with that said, it might be, maybe it's the sanctuary mom or the you know what I mean? Like this is your 10 minutes of quiet time.
Katie Kermitzos.
Like, you know,
Katie Kermitzos has a whole network about meditations for moms. So
yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She absolutely does.
Yeah.
Dre, I agree. This guy knows what he's talking about. Glad, Jonathan. Thanks. I appreciate it. I do know a lot. I know I was talking about this guy over here to my left, or your right, my left.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat. What's up, Andy? What's up, Anthony? What's up, Joe? Let's see, Anita. What apps do you usually use best to interview podcast guests? So I'm using StreamYard right now. I absolutely love it. I don't even really want to go back to Skype or really Skype is how I did most of my interviews. So this works just fine, and it isn't. I mean, it's free if you want to use it for free, and they record now, so you don't have to like strip it from Facebook or strip it from YouTube or anything like that after the fact. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, StreamYard's good. They're all listenable. That's the point. We're looking for listenable. And so I'm a big fan of Squadcast. If you want to go to the next level, where I'll give you an example. I interviewed somebody last week, and we just had a popping pee problem. And I had them adjust their mic a couple times, but for whatever reason, it just popping peas were going crazy. Well, if that's something where both of us are on the same track, you can go in and take out a bunch of the bass, and that'll help with that. But because I had separate tracks, I could run their track just through a thing that got rid of all the popping peas. So Squadcast is a big one, but I've used Zoom. What I usually do is whatever I'm using, whether it's StreamYard or whatever, I always have something else recording it, whether it's my a Zoom recorder, my Rodecaster, I have a bunch of different recorders. That way, in the event you get done, and it never fails, the more important the guest, the better the chance that something went wrong with the technology. And so I always have two things going minimum, because I've done the call of shame twice, where you call them. I'm like, that was such a great interview. Is there any chance we could do that again? Because I don't know, I hit stop and everything froze, and I got nothing. So that's the second time I did that. I'm like, I'm always going to have two things recording. And ever since I've done that, I've never had to do the call of shame.
Yeah, I don't know that I might. Oh yeah, you know what? There was one time where my Skype kept, like, my computer, my Mac, like, kept locking up. Turned out it was Logitech that was the culprit. The Logitech software back in like 2015, I think it was, kept locking up my computer, and it took a while. And you couldn't just uninstall it. I had to like really dig deep to find what was still running in the background, even though I uninstalled all the software and used the Clean My Mac app and all that. We were talking about, I'm glad you asked this, Anita, though, because we were talking about this before the show, because I asked you, Dave, if you had used StreamYard before, and you're like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And I do too, especially now that it records. I don't know. I haven't downloaded the audio though from any of the shows, only the video. Does it give you separate tracks? Do you know?
I don't know. I would doubt
that would be the one thing that, like, you know what? I should have, now that I'm thinking about it, like, that's one thing I would have liked to see in the, because they put out a feedback and was like, hey, what can we do to make this better? And like, I was like, well, you guys add recording, and that was like the number one thing on my list. But I will say this, like, if anybody from StreamYard is listening, and I know Ross Brand is good friends with these guys and girls, so I would suggest, individual track recording if you download the audio, if it doesn't already have that, and I'm guessing it probably doesn't. I don't know. But the other thing is to be able to star the chat. So like, I ask people, like, putting questions right into the chat, and now I have to go through and like reread. Like, I can't just like put a star or something on it so I can come back to it, or put it into like a question bin, that kind of thing. So those are the things that I would suggest. Is there anything that you, while we're on the suggestion train, Dave, is there anything you'd like to see in StreamYard?
The ability to, like, you can do the thing, Joe, now where you make you big and you make me small. I would love to be able to do that and swap it and go,
oh, yeah,
and like make Dave big and make everybody else small. Because you can make me big. There's a way you can go down and like solo Dave, I think, but you have to do it to me at the bottom. Yeah, you can do that. Hi. Okay, that's enough of that. So that's the only thing I can ever think of is if there would be a way to go, make this person big, make everybody else small, kind of thing. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. The big thing that for me that I love about it is it works. Like when Squadcast was first starting, they go, "What do you think we need to do?" I go, "Here's how you win this game." I said, "Because there's Zencastr, there's all these other ones." I go, "It just needs to work." I go, "We don't really care about features. We want to record the interview. We want it to be easy, and we want it to work." And so that's really the when you start adding things like separate tracks and things like that, it goes back to like, why did we make this software? We want it to be easy. And who's it for? The podcaster that's maybe not super techie, but they want to be able to stream to all these different places. So when you start adding things like separate tracks and, the more features you add, now we're getting away from, we want it to be super easy. So that's the challenge of any software. So, yeah, it's fun.
Well, I mean, considering they only keep recordings for 7 days, I don't see where it would be a problem for them to have like download the audio, download the advanced audio or something like that, download separate tracks. And it's like, well, you don't have to click that. Like you still have the audio where you just download the audio, download the video, that kind of thing. But yeah, that I mean, it's the same with the, like look at the iPhone, right? Like it's only going to ever get so complicated. So that kind of limits them in what they can accomplish.
Yeah.
As far as like customization and that kind of stuff. So Joe Foley, what's up, Joe? Asked, how do you feel about pre-interview calls? Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I've only done one that I can think of, and that was when I interviewed Jordan Harbinger, and we got on Skype and all this, and I started asking him questions like, "Hey, just hold on for a second. This is just a pre-interview." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I think if I don't know the person, and that's where it's either A, I do what I do now, which is I reserve the right not to publish our interview, or B, a pre-interview. So I think for me, that boils down to how much free time do I have? And if I don't have free time, I don't have time for a pre-interview. But on the other hand, one could say, yeah, but you're going to spend an hour interviewing somebody and then not use it. So maybe a 15-minute pre-interview. The thing I've found, I take that back. There was two. I was pre-interviewed for somebody else's show. Pre-interviews are always supposed to be like, oh, just a quick 10-minute phone call. They never are. They always turn into a big gab because we're podcasters. That's what we do. We like to talk. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think I've done a couple of pre-interviews, and they were outside of maybe the first one when I realized I'm like, I don't like this. And the reason I don't like this is because it ends up being like, I don't want to hear your story twice. Right. Like, yeah. I'm cool. Like, it's cool. I want to learn about you. And that's the way like the Dreamers podcast was structured. So I'm interviewing you about like you and your, how you got to where you are and all that stuff. So if I had to like ask you in a pre-interview, like we start going down that rabbit hole, like, one question leads to another that goes like, poof, like into this deep, like thing. It's like, wow, well, I guess I should have been recording. And while I'm at it, I don't really want to have to sit through that again, because then my mind starts to wander, and I'm not as effective in like analyzing what they're saying and stuff like that. Now, if you like, I'd be curious to get like Eric Hunley's input on that, because he does like 8 hours of like research on people before he has, before he interviews them, which I think is awesome, because I think that's just it lends itself to the type of show that you're doing, right? Like if I'm having Dave Jackson on to talk about a specific topic, right, then I'm okay with a pre-interview, because we're not going to talk about that topic in the pre-interview. We're going to get to know each other and see, and see if there's anything we vibe off of and that kind of stuff. But if you're, because when we get to the actual interview, we're talking about the topic. We're not talking about like where you're from, when you got, like how you got there, like how long you've been in the industry, like that kind of stuff. For in depth, for length. So yeah, people have tried to get me on the pre-interview thing, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm either gonna have you on the show or I'm not. Like, it just is the way it is.
For me, the purpose, I think, of a pre-interview is, again, just going back to, okay, prove to me you're going to bring value to my audience. Like, prove to me you're a good fit. Because I've had people, approach me to be on my show, and like one guy was like a speaker coach, and I'm like, okay, speakers have to have good content, but they didn't really connect the dots. They just gave me a thing, and he walked to school uphill both ways, and he cured cancer, and I'm like, okay, I get that. He's a great guy, but like, how does that pertain to, like, can you connect the dots to my audience? Here's my audience. Because that's the thing. If you don't, that means you don't know who my audience is. And you know, that's the other thing. I love, my favorite is when I get the old hello, I listen to your podcast and I love it. So first things first, how about Dave? I say it at the beginning of every show. You might want to figure out who I am. And B, when they say I love your show, I always want to go, which one? So right there, I've proven, or you've proven, that you don't listen to my show, and yet you're telling me you're a perfect fit. And I'm like, not really sure about that. And that's where yeah, that's, I get that email a lot. Now the other, do you get these, Joe, where people want you to link to their website?
Oh, I get like 2 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw, here's the best one. So I was on somebody else's show, and they wrote to me as if it was my show, saying that, oh, you mentioned these 2 services in your blog post. Can you add ours? Because I think it was it was like I think it was a talk, we've talked about like how to get music or whatever, and I think I said like Audio Jungle and like this other service or something to that effect. Some kind of it was Upwork and Fiverr for like graphic design work. So I thought it was really interesting that they found, posts that mentioned these other services, and then tried to like, hey, look, can you add ours to that list? Well, first off, you didn't offer me like, hey, try our service for like 30 days or 14 days so I can actually try to recommend it. Number one. Number two, it ain't my blog. So you missed the target there, right? Like technically, because I'm the one that was recommending it in the episode and in the transcript of the episode. So I mean, I could see where it could kind of, you might get confused, I guess, but I don't know. Interesting tactic, just not
missed.
You missed the target. Let me see. What we have? Let's see. I really wish I could start these questions. So Anita says, I want to ask the next question, but then it sounds like I'm interrogating you guys. Oh, you can no. So I'll stop asking.
You're the one from Dave about phone calls.
Dave. Okay. Speaking of phone calls, is there a definitive app or software that helps take live calls and puts calls in a queue, so that puts the calls in a queue so that they're there or they're on hold? You can take this one.
When I was growing up, Phil Donahue was the king. This is before Oprah. And he was always, is the caller there? And so when I started Ask the Podcast Coach, I wanted to have call-ins. I wanted to be like the radio. And I have gone, and in the chat room, they mentioned callinstudio.com is the only thing I know of. But here's the thing. It's cheaper than Blog Talk Radio. Yes, Blog Talk Radio is still around. But the thing is, we have, like Joe has now, we have a chat room, and then we have the phone call. And so to do that, you have to have a little more technology going on to be able to pull the phone call in, so that, especially if it was me and Joe, it gets tricky because they might hear me because I'm connected to the phone, but Joe's not. And so I ended up buying this Uber mixer, and to make a long story short, nobody called in because it's so much easier to just type in the chat room. And so, it's I on Saturday morning, I do a show called Ask the Podcast Coach. And I have a chat room, and then I also set up a link where people can go to askthepodcastcoach.com/join and join, just like I'm here with Joe, and nobody joins either because it's 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday and I don't want to have to take a shower. And then it's so much easier just to put in the chat. So, you can try it. I'm just letting you know, it adds a definite layer of technology to your thing. If you're doing a solo show, it wouldn't be that bad, but I just, for me, I think it's $6 a month for the line, and then 6 cents a minute per caller. And it just was a lot of, and then it's a matter, you can try it. I'm just here to say that when I did it, I've tried it twice because, again, in my head, I really want to be like radio and say, is the caller there? And the other thing is, you do it then, that is a skill, because like Joe has the ability right now to pick the question. So now I go, all right, next up. First of all, I can't see who it is. So I'm like, next up, ending in 5694. You're on with Dave and Jim. What's your question? You hear somebody go, Baba Booey, Booey, Bobby Boo. Okay, next. So, or you have somebody call in, they're like, yeah, I think the best microphone's the ATR 2100. And you're like, great, thanks for the call. And they're like, because the 2100 is the best microphone. And they just keep saying the same thing over. So you have to be, and it's really hard to do this. You have to have the skill of being able to go, okay, thank you for the call, boom, and sending them away. And that's very hard to do because, again, you're the goalie, and this guy or this woman, whoever's on the phone that keeps repeating themselves, they have 1 point, but they don't want to get off the phone because look at me, I'm on the radio. And you got to be able to go, thank you for the call. Next. You know, it's just that's you're out of here. Sorry.
Well, so okay, so a couple things with that, right? Radio actually has a producer that answers the phone before you get to there, right? And decides if you're good enough to, pass the filter, the bare minimum. So there's that. And if you don't have that, then that's not great. Now, one of the shows that I grew up in my podcasting listening time was WDW Today, and they would do a monthly live show where not only was it live, you could actually call in. Now, I'm not sure what they use because this goes back to like 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, like a long time ago at this point. And so I'm not sure what they use. I don't know if they had a queue or not. Here's a question. Does Glenn the Geek,
he uses Call-In Studio?
Okay.
Yeah. Because you could use something like Google Voice.
I was thinking that. You have a Google Voice typed in to like off like another laptop into the mixer.
Yeah.
And then be able to do that. And then at least it's one line.
It's one line, but that's the problem. Then you're talking to somebody, you're answering their question, and somebody else calls in. But here's the thing. Again, you could start, if you don't want to spend anything, you could start off with Google Voice to see, is anybody going to call in? And then if it becomes a problem that like, got another call, sorry, got to go. Then you go, maybe we need a queue. But yeah, Glenn actually has a producer. Glenn has his wife. She actually answers the phone, and you can put a little message like Dave wants to talk about, horse cleaning or something or whatever Glenn's talking about. So yeah, that's the bonus. But if you're doing it all, and you are the engineer and the producer and the host, that's a little crazy.
No, it is, because it's all happening in live in real time, just like this is. But we have the filter of my mouse, like it's wave the magic mouse, and and it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to get through. So Anita asks, if we interview someone for the first time for our podcast, it won't be too pushy or considered arrogant to have pre-interview, because we can't guarantee how many listeners she can get. ? We Did I miss the question there?
It won't be too pushy or arrogant. So in other words, they're kind of like, hey, can we do a pre-interview
to make sure that they're a good fit so that they are going to get listened to when we have them on our show?
Yeah, I don't think that's too pushy, because for me, it sends a message that like, this isn't just two dudes in the basement talking, hey, let's talk about whatever, dude. Yeah. So now look, I do take this seriously. I do expect you to have something besides your laptop microphone. And I want to make sure, and if anybody ever pushes back on that, I just want to make you sound as good as I can make it. And by doing a quick little, honest, it's only 10 minutes. But the other thing is, if some people, like when you schedule to be on my show, I have a questionnaire. They're like, why are you coming on the show? What should we talk about? What do you think? So I've kind of done my pre-interview when they schedule it. So that's another thing you can do too. And then if you need a pre-interview to go, hey, and what I'll do in some cases, I kind of know, again, I asked them to be on my show. In most cases, the people that are actually interviewed on my show, I brought them on because I was like, wow, that's good stuff. You got to come on my show. So I usually know if it's somebody that I almost don't do that anymore. If somebody asked to be on my show, you've really got to connect the dots, or and again, that makes me sound kind of rude and this and that. It's like, no, I really protect my audience, and I don't have enough time to edit an interview that's crap. So,
Yeah, so it is your time, right? Like that's that. I think that's the other side of it. It's not just about your time to interview the person or to do any kind of research or read 16 PDF documents about how great they are, and it's very generic. But I mean, it's specific to what they're into. But they're just like, like shotgun blasting it to you.
Yeah.
One of this will work. You will connect with one of these PDF documents. I guarantee it.
Well, I always love when I see in a Facebook group, it's like, hey, it's Tuesday. My guest canceled. Anybody want to be a guest? And I'm like, that's the criteria. Anybody got a heartbeat? I need somebody to talk to. And I'm like, wow. And here's the thing. It doesn't, so many people think you have to do an interview show or a solo show. You can do both. When you do an interview show, my favorite line was from Natalie Ekdahl from BizCheck. She goes, when you do an interview show, you grow your network. When you do a solo show, you grow your influence. And so many people think it has to be one or the other, and it can be both. I do both. I mean, I'm doing I'm doing a solo show this week. The week after that, I'm having Heather Osgood, who I met at She Podcast, and was like, wow, that's really good stuff. You got to come on my show. So I kind of mix it up, both. So keep that in mind.
So before we get to any other questions, you can ask your questions in the chat. I got to run through a couple of things here, Dave, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we are looking for sponsors, not only for this show, but for Indie PodCon as a whole. We have the media kit. It just came out like a week or two ago, something like that. If you go to indiepodcon.com/partners, we're running specials on all the packages that are in that media kit. So you can just reach out. My email address is in there. It's joe@superjoepardo.com. You can reach out and we'll get you set up with a package that means something to your company and to what you're trying to promote. What is
it's the special Joe Pardo ad music.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we're also doing. You can keep the music rolling. We're also. We would love for you to join our weight loss game. It's 4 weeks. It's just $10, and if you complete it, you win money. Right now, I think we have. Let me just see. I think we have 4 people on board, but I think there's like 5 or 6 total that are supposed to be in. The weigh-in is going on like right now, so we have between now and Monday to get our weigh-ins pictures in, and then pictures and go and get this started. Like I'm in it, and I want to lose weight. I want to be able to help motivate other people to do it. So go to indiepodcon.com/loser. That's indiepodcon.com/loser to sign up. It's only $10. Let's make a difference. If you don't know, the MapCon 5 vlog is out. You can go to indiepodcon.com/vlog to go check that out. Did you get a chance to watch that yet, Dave?
I have not.
Oh, it was epic. It was epic. And it's like a third of the length of the previous year. Last year's was like it was just way too long. It was like an hour and 25 minutes or something. This is like 30 minutes.
Nice.
So yeah, I wanted to keep it, really story driven and really all together. It's funny, we've been talking about guests, because if you want to be a guest host on this show, you can go to indiepodcon.com/guest. You need to be a podcaster in the podcasting space. Something to that effect. There's only a couple of spots available between now and I think it ends at the end of May right now. And once I get a little closer, we'll open up some more through the summer. But we've been having a lot of fun. And like today's a Saturday episode because I didn't want to wait until the end of May to get to have the Dave Jackson on here, on the Indie podcast. Anyway, let's get back to some questions here. So Dave says weight loss. Yes. Podcasting and weight loss. I mean, Dave, you could speak to podcasting and weight loss if you've done the Better Dave podcast.
Yeah, I do a show called the Logical Weight Loss Podcast. And it's funny because I started it thinking that if I announced my weight every week, it would hold me accountable. And it did. And I lost about 20 pounds. And then it turns out they were right over there. And I found them again. And then I lost them. And then I found them. And I lost. So right now, I actually set a record this year. I've never been above 225. And I was up to 228. And I went, all right, that's enough. And so, I've dusted off. I took all the clothes off the exercise bike and been really focusing on it. The thing about your challenge is it's like 6% in 4 weeks.
4%. So like
I just
in
remember
my case, I think it's like 8 pounds in 4 or 8 pounds. I'm breaking out a calculator here.
Yeah, I just know I looked at mine and I know what I lose a week, and I was like, that's going to be close. But it's fun. I've done those before, diet bets, because
Try like 11 pounds.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
it's tough. It's one of those things where, and that's why it's only 4 weeks, because you have to really focus. You have to, it's not something where you can kind of mail it in. If you're going to hit that goal, you've really got to do it. And that's where it's tough. But yeah, indiepod.com/loser.
Yeah, /loser, because we all want to be losers together.
That's right.
So yes, so Dave says I'm 291. There's prizes. Yes. So you're betting that you're going to lose 4% of your body weight. So you have 4 weeks to lose. In my case, I'm like somewhere between 270 and 280. So it's gonna be like 11 pounds. I gotta drop.
So say there's 3 people in it. And Joe hits his goal. We all put in $20. So there's $20, $20, 20. So there's $60 in the pot. I don't hit my goal, neither does the other person. That means $40 of the people that didn't hit their goal goes to the people that did. So if Joe's the only winner, he takes all the money.
Yes, and here's one thing that I think that kind of stuck with me was, if you go in the FAQ for dietbet.com, which is what we're using, it says if everybody meets their goal, everybody wins. Yeah. They will forfeit their cut so that everybody wins. And I think that's, to me, I think that I don't know, it means a lot to me to see that like, hey, we care enough about the customer experience, to me it's chalking up to marketing expense and doing a good thing for people to feel everyone felt motivated enough to make it happen. Like, I think that's really, really important. I guess Kyle Bondo. Yeah, so we have so that's what we're doing. Kyle, what's up, Kyle? He was just a guest on Wednesday here.
Merchants of Dirt. I love.
Yeah. Kyle that's Bondo. Right. I'm supposed to ask you. I have a real big in red. Ask you to do the Binky and Wiz voice. I forgot. I was in my notes. I hadn't opened it up.
Binky is this guy. It just talks like this. I can't believe it, man.
And then the Wiz is kind of he's a ripoff of the guy that goes, oh, it's so.
What was the guy on Bugs Bunny?
It's so infuriating.
The little Martian dude.
Yeah. Marvin the Martian.
Except
So if you take Marvin the Martian and make him stutter, you end up
with the Wiz.
So, and add a ever so slight Southern accent on occasion. So
yes,
but and Binky is just a really exaggerated version of David Lee Roth. Because I remember when I was growing up, one of our stations is 100.7. There's always like, wow, Cleveland is screaming, man. And I can tell you true, because this is Diamond David Lee Roth. So if you take that and just completely blow out your voice, now it's like this, man. And it's like, whoa. I can't do that because it hurts my voice. But it's fun. I did an episode, I think it was 400, where I had Binky and the Wiz and Miss Fatima, if I remember right, who all she ever says is, Binky, you're so crazy. My neighbors love me.
I bet.
Yeah. And so I had to write out a script and then record each person's saying this, and then pieces parted together and something like that. But anyway, Kyle Bondo from Gaggle Pod.
Yeah. So Kyle says, ever tried the strategy of sending your guest a loaner USB microphone with a postage paid return box?
I think Mr. Jim Cullison from theaverageguy.tv has done that. If I was going to do it, I would do an ATR 2100 because they have a lifetime warranty where the Samsung Q2U does not. And I would put instruction that says, please do not ship with the cable plugged into the back of it. I know some people will ship like a cheap $15 headset because that's what you're trying to do, is get anything better than the laptop microphone, so that's where it's kind of tricky. I have had some people if they have somebody goes, I don't have a microphone, and on Skype you can, like, somebody goes, I don't know anything about audio. Most people can download an app, and so what you can do is set up a second Skype account. So let's say you create just a generic Gmail account. You set up Skype with this, and you have the login name and password, and you tell that person, are you on Wi-Fi? And they're like, yes. Okay, download this app called Skype. Most people can figure that out. And then put this in as the login name and the password. And then when you call them, they're answering. It's not over the phone. They're using Wi-Fi via Skype, and the microphone in the phone is better than the microphone in the laptop. And that way, it's better than nothing. And you can actually get, I've done that, and it's actually pretty decent audio. It's definitely better than the laptop. And then when you're done, you just say, okay, now delete the app, because otherwise you're going to end up with somebody with your login name and password for this fake Skype account thing. So that's another way around somebody who goes, I don't know technology. And suddenly I turned into Vinny Barbarino. What? Where? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I haven't sent a microphone to anybody. I with the added expense of shipping the microphone back and forth, and like yeah, it should be as easy as plugging it in, but even on a Mac it won't necessarily default to that microphone that you just plugged in. And with that said, like if they have a MacBook Pro and they don't have a dongle, well then that's not going to do you any good either.
No.
Like there's just a lot of hurdles. I really would just prefer them to like you said, pull up the Skype app, either having their own account. If they don't have their own account, then you have an account that you have set up, so it's just one less hurdle. Take away the excuses, take away the hurdles. Yeah, I feel like if you're trying to be on a bunch of podcasts, like invest the $50-$60.
Yeah.
Like invest the hour to make sure that you know how to like get on the app, right? Or use like a StreamYard or something where it's website based. Maybe Zoom, but even then that doesn't, at least the Zoom app, right? You can just send them the link and then they can jump in. Then that's one less hurdle. Like they're just clicking on a link and like typing in their name, and because even the username and password, it doesn't work. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Is your caps lock on?
Yeah, like come on, man. Like, I can't help. I remember one time, working back at the parts, my family's parts company. One guy was like, "Yeah, that username and password doesn't work." I'm like, there is like 30-40 other people logged in right now, all conducting business with that same username and password for the VPN. It works. I can't help you type it in. Like I can't jump through the phone from Florida to Pennsylvania right now to help you help me so I can get back to my vacation because you don't know how to type in a password properly. So he ended up calling somebody else, and then magically the password worked. Like,
of course.
Yeah. So yeah, there's what will go wrong, or can go wrong, will go wrong. Yeah. So there's always going to be another hurdle. Anita, I hope you have a happy weekend as well. Michael, you asked, good morning from San Francisco. What kind of headphones are you using? Dave had to look because he probably, like me, has a drawer full of headphones.
Yeah. Audio-Technica ATH M30s. So, which I think are $60-$70, something like that.
Yeah, I had to look at the exact models of mine. Would you recommend them?
Yeah, for me, anything that has over the ear, and for me, I like these because they're comfy. And the thing I like, and I think this isn't really it's not an Audio-Technica thing. If the little pad thingies wear out, and they do eventually because you sweat and stuff, you can just buy new pads and put them on here. So, and what you want to avoid are things like Beats. Beats are great for music because they make that bass just pump. But the problem is you're then going to turn down the bass because you're like, wow, this guy sounds really bassy. So you turn the bass down, and then when you listen to it on a normal speaker, the guy sounds really thin because you've taken all the bass out. So you want something that's the geeky phrase is a flat response, meaning it doesn't add any bass or treble. What you hear is what's going to come out of speakers. So,
yep. And the ones I'm using are the DT990 Pro 250 ohm. Which they're open back, so you see like it's not like there's nice. No like hard plastic on there, so I can hear what's going on around me, which is good when you have
children,
2 kids.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, 2 other people in the house or 3 other people in the house, and you want to make sure that if somebody is in trouble that you can throw them off, hear them and throw them off and go. The only thing is you need to have a good DAC, a good amplification for them, because they're very quiet. Like if I plug these into, well, you can't even plug them into an iPhone anymore, but if you plug them into an iPhone or you plug them into, some other just normal like 2.5 millimeter or 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, the odds are you're gonna be like, wow, these sound really low and not good at all. And they're pretty inexpensive. I would say the only problem with these is they don't have like a removable
cable.
Cable. Yeah, that's the only downside. But they're inexpensive enough that, like, I've had them for quite a few years already, and I'll continue to have them until they no longer work, and I'll probably end up getting another pair because they're super comfortable. Like, you see, like they're very plush over the ear. They sit like well over the ear, and assuming that it's not summertime and it's 100 degrees in your room where they feel like earmuffs, they're pretty comfortable. The other ones I would recommend are the Shure, I think it's the SE 315s. I have them right behind me.
965 hike. The other thing I love is this little gizmo. I got it on Amazon, and what it does is it basically spring loaded. I put this on so when my headphones are not on my head, they're hanging on my desk. And it's not the most well-made thing. It's plastic, but I'm not like, it clamps to my desk and it holds headphones, so it doesn't need to be super durable. But
yes.
And then it also swivels. So for some reason, yeah. So it's one of the things, because I was constantly, it does have a little thing on the side that it doesn't really work because it's supposed to put your headphone cable in that, but it's too small for your typical headphone cable. But what I usually do is wrap the cable around this, because I don't know about you, I'm constantly running over the headphone cable, and then you go to get up and it rips off your head or something like that.
The choice of podcasting.
Yeah, that's it. What did you find the model?
Yeah, yes, I did. Thank you for the save. I actually have two two metal ones. Of that where it clamps into the onto the desk using like a screwdriver.
Nice.
And so they're metal. And then I have two rubberized ones. You can actually see one right there where my finger is. Where it uses like 3M tape to stick up under the desk.
Oh, nice.
Which is very convenient for if it's, and it actually has two. There's like a hook on both sides, so you can have I have like 4 hooks. But the problem is once you have little kids, they just want to crap at them.
Yeah.
So the other headphones, so I would use these during the wintertime, and during the summertime, I would use the SE 215s in-ears from Shure.
Nice. Yeah.
Like $100. They're very, very durable, very comfortable. I've had them for, I don't know, these probably for like 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. So they're great headphones all around. So that's what I would recommend. Or if you're on a budget, if you're really, really, really on a budget, Monoprice makes headphones for like $20 that sound incredible. So that I would check out those. They're, like I said, for $20, they're probably some of the best $20 headphones I've ever had. They're over the ear, pretty comfortable. I got them because at one point I had like a VR headset, and I wanted cheap headphones that we could put on to use with the VR headset, and everything else gets all nasty and gross. So I'm like, let's just get cheap headphones for to go over this that still sound good.
It's a case where you can go to something like a Guitar Center. I know at least my local Guitar Center has a ton of headphones and microphones to play with. I wish they had more dynamic microphones. A lot of their stuff is all condenser stuff, which in some cases can pick up a little more room noise and things like that. But they do have a ton of headphones to play with. So
these are the Monoprice ones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're very comfortable. They even have the removable headphone jack, so you can remove the cable. They swivel, like I said, for $20. I mean, it's not the super, you can tell the band, not the most comfortable, but it's not the worst either. And they work. But so we're gonna wrap things up here. Oh wow, wait, did we just get a bunch of questions? I feel bad now. Questions. Do you have more time, Dave?
Not really. I've got a show at 10:30. I have to take a shower and eat some breakfast.
Because people that got that smell-o-vision, they don't need to be smelling.
Yeah.
This is the show you don't get a shower for.
We can rapid fire them if you want.
All right. Yes, real quick. So Raphael says Zencastr, TriCaster, or Skype best for audio. Zencastr a lot.
Yeah, we answered this one earlier. My favorite, Squadcast.
Squadcast, yeah, I've used that as well. I mean, I haven't personally. I've been on other shows that use it. I think it's definitely, if you don't want to necessarily stream out video and do all the video things, like I would definitely check out Squadcast. What is your favorite website plugin that you use?
Monster Insights. It ties into your Google Analytics and it's free. They do have a paid version. Or Social Warfare is a great tool for sharing, making it easy to share your stuff.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Those. I've only heard of the Monster. I hadn't heard of the other one.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm looking at my list here. I mean, it's going to be a toss up between Yoast SEO and PowerPress.
Yeah, I think about it. You know what? I retract my answer. Pretty Links. I use that all the time.
Yep.
That's if the house is on fire, I'm grabbing Pretty Link on my way out the door.
Social warfare. A Pretty Links is so convenient to be able to use. I mean, it's how we got the IndiePodcon.com/loser.
As soon as when you put that up, I was like, oh heck, what am I thinking of? It's Pretty Links. So
it's Pretty Links, yeah. And IndiePodcon.com/group. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, if you're not watching this right now in the Facebook group, go to IndiePodcon.com/group. I'm just gonna do all the wrap ups here. If you want to be a sponsor of this show, or if you want to sponsor IndiePodcon as a whole, go to IndiePodcon.com/partners. We have a meetup, Philly Podcaster Meetup, November 17th, noon to 3 p.m. Matthew Passy is speaking. And I have a couple other cool things I think we're going to try to kind of beta test there while we're at the meetup. That should be a lot of fun. IndiePodcon.com/meetup. It's free. The spots are limited, so please go RSVP. We're trying to make sure we have enough stuff for everybody. If you haven't checked out the MapCon 5 vlog, IndiePodcon.com/vlog. IndiePodCon itself, September 24th to 26th. Go get your ticket right now. Save 10% off your ticket with IPP as the discount code. Go to IndiePodCon.com/register. Dave, plug your stuff, man. Tell people where they can get you from.
Yeah, you can find me at schoolofpodcasting.com. If you have more questions, I will be back on at askthepodcastcoach.com/live. It's at 10:30. For whatever reason on the screen, the 3s are not showing up.
Oh, wow.
It's very weird. I typed that twice. So yeah, askthepodcastcoach.com/live every Saturday, 10:30 Eastern time. It's myself and Jim Cullison. And for all my shows, check me out at powerofpodcasting.com because I've got a bunch.
Like 30? Was it like you've had like 30?
I've had over 30 shows. I think right now I have 7 going, I think, which is why I don't sleep or eat. I do shower on occasion though. So
yes, it is PodCon, not PodCom. Anyway, everybody, I hope you have an amazing weekend ahead, a great Saturday. Dave, enjoy your show. I will be going. I got to go film a promotional video for a photographer.
Nice.
So it will be a lot of fun, and we get to meet Santa Claus because Santa Claus is in the house.
What more can you ask for?
Santa Claus was in this house over here, right to my left. Santa Claus of podcasting, that is. Anyway, next week my guest on this show will be I should have had this up is Dr. Tyson Franklin, all the way from Australia. Looking forward to having Dr. T in the house. Thank you very much, Kyle. I appreciate it. Everybody, take care.